Welcome to my channel. This is the Diamond Chrysalis, aka Divested Diamonds. This is Divestment with Purpose, and you have arrived. Hello, ladies. Thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you joining me. Please do me a favor and click the like button as you watch this video. Thank you kindly. In today's premiere, we'll be discussing the recent controversy between Queen Pearl and the Manosphere. We're also going to talk about how the Manosphere queens took a page out of the HOBW Hatred of Black Women Handbook and continuing to bash other Black women under the guise of quote-unquote accountability and clout. Like I've mentioned before, the queens and their kings have tried so desperately to hold Black women accountable for issues that these Black males have helped create. You know, there has been an influx of pick-me's joining the Manosphere, tap dancing for Scooby snacks and approval, all the while shitting on other Black women for money and clout. These women, as I've mentioned several times before, are a detriment to other Black women for the simple fact that they are willing to throw other Black women under the bus for Black male attention and approval. Just like the Kangs, they have made a lot of money in these YouTube streets, pandering to Black men and further adding to the degradation of the Black woman's image. This has been done very forcefully with malice, bitterness, and extreme vitriol against women who look like them. It has all been packaged under umbrella terms such as modern women, submission, and relationship advice. These women have also shown their disdain for Black women who've divested from the community for safety and mental health reasons because, as I've also mentioned before, the so-called community will never celebrate Black women elevating and doing better for themselves. Oh no, they will never do it for Black women, but will gladly take to the streets to march for criminal Black males and willingly take rubber bullets in their honor. They want you, as a Black woman, to stay put and continue to put up with the Black male's abuse by being the mule and backup plan for males who have no self-control over their emotions and manhood. These women advocate for the so-called modern woman to shrink herself while being dominated by unworthy men under the umbrella term of submission. You, as an educated Black woman, are ridiculed for having an education with phrases such as, "A high-value man doesn't care about your education. He doesn't care about your degrees." The aim here is to have you dumb yourself down as much as possible in order to pedestalize weak beta males to a status even they don't deserve. The aim here is to chip away at your self-esteem, bring you down a few notches if you ever want to have that ring on your finger. What these women won't tell you, which true divestors or other common sense women already know, is that this is a con. These women and their kings are selling you a nightmare disguised as a dream. Although, given the mounting evidence of abuse by a lot of these Black males, I don't see how that could be considered a dream. But this is what they're always attempting to do. In their warped minds, every issue in the so-called community is the Black woman's fault. Anytime Black women have tried to defend themselves by saying, hey, actually, Black men need to accept their fair share of responsibility when it comes to this mess, it turns into a competition between men and women. And one thing I know for a fact is that any man who compares himself to a woman and wants to keep score on who has done what does not deserve to be submitted to. That's not a leader. That's a male with a weak mindset, a loser. And as a woman, leave that man alone. But such is the attitude of a lot of Black males. Because they can't compete with other men, their competition becomes, well, you. This is why they try to convince you to go 50-50 in relationships or ask you what you bring to the table, which in itself is absurd, especially when you as women are expected to be traditional in a non-traditional setting. They keep calling Black women, quote unquote, these modern women. Meanwhile, there's nothing traditional about them. They do spend quite a lot of time romanticizing the lives of their grandparents or great-grandparents without understanding the full picture behind the dynamics of those relationships. Those relationships existed at a time when women had few to no rights. The reason they lasted longer or appear ideal to the psyche of the modern man is because majority of them were based on a foundation of abuse. Those women had to do whatever it took to survive, even if it meant putting up with DV, mental, emotional, or financial abuse. In addition to that, there was also a stigma attached to women who weren't married. None of those women wanted to be labeled a spinster. It was bad enough being a woman, but a woman with no husband? Oh no. That's why when you listen to their so-called relationship advice, it's laced with a lot of abuse, with old-fashioned undertones of indentured servitude, the shaming of women who are single without children, or the hatred and shaming of single mothers is very popular. It's the only way that they can get you to feel inadequate, worthless, while attempting to force you to comply to their bullying tactics. They are literally regressing mentally and don't want to accept that we are not our parents, grandparents, or great-grandparents. We have more options now as women and shouldn't be forced to downgrade to undesirable men simply to meet their demands. We're not here to make your dreams come true as you continue using us as a stepping stone to reach your goals. That's not what life is all about. Women shouldn't have to mute themselves, their dreams or aspirations, simply because majority of you don't understand masculinity. That's not what femininity is all about. Preventing women from reaching their full potential is not masculinity. It's a sign of weakness, and such men are mentally castrated and need to choose ancient women who will put up with their excuses. Masculine men who truly understand femininity and masculinity and the roles that men and women play in relationships also understand the symbiotic benefits between the two sexes. They don't have to rule another person with an iron fist just to get results. Relationships are supposed to be pleasant, a little challenging at times, but not some kind of dictatorship based on inadequacies and insecurities. When these men and women of the Manosphere talk about relationships, it's clear to see why most men today are involuntarily single while the majority of women are choosing to be single. Most modern relationships aren't worth the paper they're printed on. So Queen Pearl has caused some commotion, and the Manosphere is divided. You have those who are happy to assume their place on the plantation to cater to Miss N, and then there are those who are calling her out on her fuckery to save face. People like mediocre tutorials and reviews who at first tried to cape for Pearl until he realized which boundaries she had crossed and then decided to call her out. To O'Shea Duke Jackson, who seems to have denounced and condemned this woman's actions entirely. As you know, all of this started when Pearl decided to invite a self-proclaimed racist onto her show, a guy by the name of Nick Fuentes. Some members of the Manosphere, like MTR, felt she was insensitive for having someone like that on her show, seeing as majority of her audience are Black people. Look, if we're gonna keep it a buck, let's keep it all the way honest here. She has built her channel off of the exploitation of the so-called Black community's dysfunction. Her topics, which are mostly based on the hatred that exists between Black men and women, catapulted her to social media stardom in a very short space of time, especially compared to her Black peers in the same genre who've been doing this for longer than she has. So the interview took a turn for the worst when race was brought up. I couldn't help but notice how giddy she got during her interview as she referred to the Black African people who work for her as, quote unquote, my Africans. A disrespectful term that seemed to suggest that she owned them. She made them sound like pets.
I'm trying to get my Africans in America. My Africans. Oh gosh.
Oh boy.
They're gonna be in trouble. This sounds similar to the slavery stuff too, because that's literally the founder of, or the guy who made Roots said, I wanted a myth for my people to live by. So they often, but that's what they do, is they embellish. And I'm not trying to say it wasn't horrible. It was.
Right.
But they want to make it like more horrible so that they can control people.
I guess her inside thoughts were said out loud, and perhaps she forgot whose company she was in. But anyway, my observation was that she was too comfortable kikiing and smiling with Nick during that interview because she was in her element. Why are people surprised? She was having a good old funky time with a self-proclaimed racist. At no point during that interview did she say, you know what? I respect your views on this, but I disagree with you on that. There was no pushback on the negative things that Nick had said. And look, it didn't have to turn into some kind of argument. You can always disagree with someone respectfully. Matter of fact, she added fuel to the fire with the whole slavery comment. Nick Fuentes did not bring up slavery. She did. You cannot compare the contents of a book loosely based on facts to the atrocities of slavery. Alex Haley mentioned that Roots was based on faction, part fact, part fiction. And for her to sit there and compare a real-life event to a piece of literature or a mini-series is just offensive. And to all the Black people who were co-signing her comments, you all are the reason that nobody takes the collective seriously. Her sitting there and talking down to a group of people on the embellishment of years of chattel slavery is wild to me. Her ancestors could possibly have owned slaves. She claims to be of German and Irish ancestry. But given her attitude towards this matter, all I can say is, perhaps the Germans will claim her, taking into account their history, because I know that the Irish won't, especially not in Northern Ireland. But I digress. So, rumor has it that she comes from a rich family, allegedly. Now, if there's any truth to that, and those riches have been passed down from one generation to the next, there's a huge possibility that some of those riches may have come from the blood, sweat, and tears of enslaved Black people. So here's the thing. Would she not be benefiting from the atrocities of slavery itself through her lineage? You know, she seems to have a very warped mindset and completely out of touch with reality. And sadly, there are those of us who've encountered people like her one too many times. People who live in their own little bubbles, such that every time they open their mouth, all you hear is hatred, ignorance, and BS. No wonder she referred to her staff as quote unquote, my Africans. This should tell you all you need to know about her and her mindset. She's very condescending. In addition to calling her employees quote unquote, my Africans, she also deemed it appropriate to talk about CPT, or in her case, African time. As Black people, we do experience issues with timekeeping. Lateness is an inside joke amongst most melanated people pretty much everywhere. However, being Black is not a qualifier or guarantee for lateness. Being Black is not a prerequisite for lateness. Is it common? Sure, but not everyone does it. In any case, inside jokes are exactly that. Inside jokes. They are not for all other people of all other cultures to participate in. It just doesn't seem to have the same meaning or the same ring to it, the same tone or humor when others do it. It's okay to not be a part of everything.
I text you, I'm on my way because I thought I was already 10 minutes late when I was leaving.
Yeah, well, it's okay. Blessing was more late African.
Well, he's Black.
Yeah.
Late African. Well, he's Black. No. See, I'll bet that Blessing was cheesing and laughing like a hyena too. Some of these idiots actually do not know when they're being disrespected. It's so pathetic. And you see, we've seen people like Pearl on this platform so many times before. They show their asses, offend Black people, apologize, and I use that term very loosely, and after that, everything just goes right back to business as usual. There are never any real consequences for their actions. Because again, when it comes to Black people, there's no respect in sight. These motherfuckers think that they can say whatever they want, when they want, and get away with it because every time that other people have done the same, there are no real consequences for it. There's no punishment for it. Now, people can use the whole First Amendment excuse, but even that has limitations on it. I'll bet that she wouldn't have the same energy to speak on matters of the chosen people, would she? Nick Fuentes might. He has. And he did that in the interview. That is why most podcasters will not entertain him. He has said a lot of anti-Semitic things and isn't welcome in most chosen people's spaces. Pearl would never say anything about the chosen people because she knows and understands the repercussions of doing such. Kanye West tried that nonsense and look what happened to him. Like somebody else mentioned, Kyrie Irving tried that nonsense too, and they made him tap dance and apologize like a little bitch. So people like Pearl know exactly what they're doing when they behave this way towards Black people. No one respects Black people. That is why people are so free to say whatever they want, when they want, and get away with it. The so-called Black community is a free-for-all. Nobody cares. There is no security at the gate. There never was. It's wide open for anyone to just come in and behave exactly how they please. This woman is a prominent member of the Black Manosphere. The Black Manosphere! Make that make sense. She was allowed to enter that space because, well, do I need to spell it out? It's not a secret that Black men go cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs over white women. And there's nothing wrong with that. However, she came in and added to the hatred that Black men have towards Black women. She utilized their space and Black people to get ahead. Because, let's face it, the Manosphere is clown world. She saw an opening and an opportunity to make lots of money pandering to a Black audience, using their own talking points while disrespecting them, but mostly disrespecting Black women. Why, you ask? Because she can. Who's gonna stop her? Black men? Are you kidding me? She literally came into the space. Black men welcomed her with open arms. They laid out the red carpet and put her on a pedestal. Why wouldn't she take that opportunity to gain clout and make money off of their stupidity and using their own talking points? Everybody knows that this part of YouTube is very lucrative. People make bank using the community's dysfunction and the bashing of Black women. She was coddled and elevated to stardom very quickly, leaving behind all the hardworking Black female pygmies, like Speedy Gonzalez. She left behind these Black male-identified women in the dust. It doesn't matter that she's a plain Jane, boring-looking, strawberry blonde, no-style-having woman with no qualifications or experience on half of the shit she talks about. She blows the hottest Black woman in that genre out of the water because white is right and Black is whack. At least that's how these deluded, self-hating Black males see it. And look, this is not my fight. I'm just an observer. It's not the fight of any divested woman, but I make it my business for one specific reason. And it's due to the fact that she has been allowed to come into their space, flying around like a wild banshee, disrespecting Black women. That's the part I'm interested in. What a lot of you slow Black males do not understand is that you are nothing but tools for this woman. Where things get murky is where some of you bootlickers encourage her to be disrespectful to Black women. Every time you speak disparagingly about Black women on her podcast, you are giving her permission to do the same. With that said, here's the other question. Should the Black women who willingly appear on her podcast be held accountable for contributing to the degradation of Black women? Absolutely. They should know better. And look, it's not that I expect any better from you Black males, seeing as bashing Black women is your bread and butter. All I'm saying is, I knew she was fraudulent the moment I laid my eyes on her. Her attitude is disrespectful and her tone is condescending. I will never, for the life of me, understand why or when educated Black women became so desperate as to go onto a 26-year-old's platform to discuss relationships. She's 26, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. But anyway, I don't understand why educated Black women continue to go onto these silly podcasts to speak about relationships while being disrespected in the process. You all are literally validating her behavior. Your presence on these podcasts is growing her brand. Everyone knows that bashing so-called modern women, bashing Black women, is big business. It pays people's bills. It's a money-making machine. And yeah, you should care. You should also be concerned because it's your image being continuously dragged into the mud. You know, someone left me a comment on one of my posts on Just Pearly Things and said, "Who cares?" I'm assuming, based on her avatar, that she was a Black woman. Well, dear, if you don't mind being disrespected, I feel sorry for you. Matter of fact, I pity you. And all I can say is, this channel is certainly not for you. The sad part of this is that some of you are actually older women listening to this 20-something-year-old about relationships. That's laughable. What could she possibly know about relationships? What experience does she have? These are the types of questions you should be asking yourselves. She's never been married, so what could she possibly know about long-term commitment or the inner workings of a marriage? And you see, she's constantly poking fun at women for rating themselves a certain number, but has anyone asked her what her own rating is? And you see, as much as I don't like using numbers to grade the value of a human being, if you forced my hand and said to me, "Hey, what do you think her number is?" I would have to say, she's a 3 on a good day. Now, comment down below if anyone has ever asked her to rate herself. If so, what was her response? She seems to carry a boner for accountability when it comes to women, but especially Black women, when she herself could not take genuine accountability for pissing off majority of her audience, because that wishy-washy apology she gave after realizing she'd effed up was just pathetic. It was weak. But then again, Black males have allowed her to run rampant in the Manosphere space around a group of people whose culture she doesn't even care to understand. So you can proudly take this L, Black males, and wear it around your necks. You got. You got punked. Your affinity for white skin, without considering someone's qualities or character, has got you looking crazy out here. You lost your grip on reality because you were too busy shucking and jiving for the pearly gates of deception. You got exactly what you deserved. Now, let's take a quick look at that weak sauce apology, shall we?
Today, I'm going to be addressing the Nick Fuentes situation. Yeah, I know why you guys are here. Okay. So I want to first say I take full accountability for everything that happened. Everything that happens in life, as I say to the girls on my show, is my own fault. The fact that people are making these videos is my own fault. And the situation that I'm in is my own fault. Now, I'm going to give you guys an explanation and give you guys context for some of the conversations that were had. Just know it's not an excuse. It's my own fault. I take full accountability for everything that happened.
What it sounds like to me is that someone forced her to say something. Most likely her management. She didn't mean any of what she said. Are you kidding me? She apologized because she didn't want to hurt her bottom line. She doesn't want to completely bite the hand that feeds her. And even if she did, there are some of you who are more than willing to sell your organs in support of her. You all are just some die-hard fans, huh? Wow. I see you. Yes, I do. I see you buck dancing and tap dancing for her. Obsidian, King Riches, and a lot of you goofy Negroes. Even Jessica X changed her mind after hearing Sarah Garvey's expose on Queen Pearl. It's funny because all of a sudden, Jessica now identifies as a Black woman. Look, I'm not trying to be mean to this young lady, but here's the thing. She made that a thing when she arrived on the YouTube scene. She was always telling people how she wasn't a part of the sisterhood. She would always talk disparagingly about Black American women. She's the one who separated herself from everybody else. So now she seems to have come into some kind of enlightenment after that uncomfortable interaction with Jason Black, who roasted and somewhat bullied the poor girl from here to London Bridge. Wonders never cease. Because initially, Jessica had refused to label Queen Pearl as racist. And what I believe happened is that Jason's main concern was trying to find out why it was that Jessica X called him a race hustler. Essentially, he wanted to know which side of the fence she was on. Was she on the Black side or on Pearly's side? Because again, Jessica is biracial, but she also aligned herself with the Black Manosphere. Whose side was she going to take? So when Jessica listened to Sarah Garvey's video, she actually agreed with Jason Black. But anyway, let's listen to what Sarah Garvey had to say about Queen Pearl, shall we?
Now recently, Just Pearly Things has been caught up in some controversy. Why? She has interviewed avid racist and known racist Nick Fuentes. He is also an anti-Semite. What did Pearl do when she interviewed him? What she done is that she laughed with him and seems to agree with a lot of his points.
Talk about instances of like when they initially freed the slaves, there were some slaves that felt so indebted to their owners that they would travel across states to pay them back, and they actually had a really good relationship with them.
So when she came to London, she said that she wanted to make a podcast, and I said, no problem. Okay, let's talk about it. And I decided to feature on her show. Now, when I featured on her show, because of my following in the UK, people would tune in. So essentially, I helped Pearl grow her channel. Okay, I was on there week to week, and I was working with her based on a fee. So I began working with Pearl, and from the beginning, I started to think that maybe this girl has a colonial mindset. Now, we all know that we don't want to be paranoid, so I kept working with her. However, the more I worked with her is the more that I saw. She had a colonial type viewpoint when it came to Black people, and I had to school her a few times on what it was like to be Black and the Black experience, and also what slavery and colonization was actually like. Pearl has Africans that work for her. They edit her videos. They make her thumbnails. However, with a colonial mindset, this can be quite dangerous. And what happened during that interview with Nick Fuentes was that she used an age-old tactic that colonizers use, which was the divide and rule tactic. She pitted African Americans versus Africans when she spoke about how hard Africans work compared to how hard African Americans work. And she also used the term, my Africans.
Is this your queen? This is embarrassing. Now, this is all alleged, of course, but we can all use discernment, can we not? Before I go any further, I just want to say this. Before some of you ladies get too excited, and I'm not talking about you ladies in particular, right? All I'm trying to say is, before some of you ladies get too excited and run over to his channel to support him, please listen to this.
Fuck modern day women. This new generation of modern day women are psychopathic, they're masculine, they're narcissistic, they're entitled, and essentially, they're spoiled little brats.
And look, this man is quite well known amongst a lot of people in and around London. I know of him, and I don't mean on a personal level, but prior to his expose I had an issue with him on something he'd said in one of his YouTube shorts, which was,
America doesn't understand, and I guess women don't understand, that what they're doing is that they're pushing their men away. So they're pushing their men away to these other countries and then cursing them out for going to these other countries while pushing them away. So it's a whole vicious cycle of what's going on in America. I actually think, like you said, America's birth rate is going to get like Japan's, and what is going to happen is that Americans are going to be having babies with other women from other countries, and America's going to. I think we're seeing the fall of America. Actually, I think we're seeing it in real time.
That's
You see, what he doesn't understand is that there are a lot of us who support passport bros. While race wasn't brought into this conversation, he needs to understand that from a Black woman's perspective, there are those of us who welcome this notion of Black men in particular going to foreign countries to find their dream women. I feel that Black men need to go where they feel appreciated and celebrated, as should Black women. This relationship has been one of toxicity, it's tired, and it's drawn out. And Black men and women are better off apart. That's my opinion. And that's all I have to say about that. To all you ladies out there who care about your mental health and well-being, please divest. There's nothing that I appreciate more than peace. And there's nothing more peaceful than not dealing with struggle love, mental gymnastics, and low vibrational energy, which most Black males possess. But anyway, continuing on, after Sarah Garvey's video went viral, a Black woman who goes by the name Aunt Jenny, I suppose an acquaintance of Sarah Garvey's and an employee of Just Pearly Things, expressed her disdain for the video. She had something to say, and this was her response.
All I want to know is why? Why, Sarah? Now, you're showing pictures. I was all right until you mentioned my name. And you're mentioning my name like I'm I'm under some kind of slave master. Let me explain to you, right? Because Pearl tells me everything. And let me explain to you. Have you seen my contract? Do you know whether I've got a contract or not? So when you're talking about Auntie Jenny, talk about what you know. Talk about what you've seen. Don't talk about what you don't know. Right? And I always tell Pearl, be careful about who's around you, because not everybody that says they're your friend are your friend. And she's stupid and naive, and she trusts people like how she trusts you. And look what you're going to do. What? Because she won't pay you a salary. Because she won't pay you a salary. How do you expect to make money when somebody else ain't making no money? Right? You can't tell me how many hours I do, because I come in here for about 4 hours a day. I come in here, I sit down, and I go home. That is it. And that's for the party. And you want to take private videos of people at the party. Right? What were you doing at the party? Who was you there with? Because all of a sudden you turned up and you're looking really like, you know what I mean? Like, you're one of these, strong Black men. You know what I mean? You're wearing your black today, and you're wearing your little gold pendant. Your little tiny gold pendant. Your little tiny gold pendant. I need a magnifying glass to go and see. But yeah, you're representing the Blacks, innit? The same way how you're representing the Blacks. Now, I always thought that you were a man that followed Kevin Samuels. God rest his soul. Right? Kevin Samuels. And the way you're turning up, tell them how you turn up. Look how you're dressed now to suit the Black man. How do you normally turn up in your Primark shoes? Tell them how you turn up. Tell them how you turn up. Tell them about the drink that you brought. Any Black man you know that brings a drink, what drink did they bring to a party? Right? You had Rolito that brought his cognac. What did you bring? What did you bring to educate the young people? Port. And then you want to go and tell everybody how port is, right? And then what did you do? You stand there, everybody's drinking drinks, and you stand there with your port. And what did you do when you was leaving? You walked out the door and then you come back. Oh, because you forgot your bottle. So much of a man, you forgot your bottle. Now, please, don't put me in your mouth. Do not say things about me that you do not know. You understand? I am retired. I have bought my own house. You know what I mean? I don't owe nobody nothing. I don't do this because I need the money. I do it because I ain't got nothing better to do, because I'm retired.
Isn't it funny how much chaos Queen Pearl has caused? You have people out here arguing with each other, threatening each other, and trying to claw each other's eyes out. You have individuals like the Black conservative A male who uses every opportunity to not hold other racial groups accountable for using disrespectful language with racial undertones towards Black people because he wants to be seen as the good Negro. Token, this male is out here tap dancing hard on behalf of Pearl, and it boggles the mind. There are so many Black males giving this woman a pass and saying, well, she's providing jobs for Black people. But my thing is, if the previous video by Sarah Garvey is anything to go by, these 21st century plantation contracts just aren't cutting it. But yeah, I feel no sympathy for the Manosphere. You did this to yourselves due to your lack of self-respect and hatred for Black women. You somehow found allyship in a woman who not only disregards you, but your culture as well. She doesn't respect you, but uses you as tools for monetary gain. You're supposed to be the Manosphere, but have a whole lot of women infiltrating that space. And the only reason you're okay with it is because you have found friendships in the enemies of Black women. These women pander to you because they are desperate for male validation. It's actually sad and pathetic for any woman to think or feel that she's only worth something when a man says so. A truly divested woman will always practice self-love and self-preservation first, above all else. That is why you all try to cheapen this lifestyle by claiming it's all about dating outside of our race. And according to you, we're not being picked because we're the least attractive. But yeah, stay mad as you recycle the same Black males over and over again, because the truth of the matter is you have a small selection of males to choose from. Most Black men are either incarcerated, on the down low, extremely dusty, no ambition, no education, and broke. None of these things are worth downgrading for. If that was all there was, I would rather be single. The few Black men who want to get married either marry outside of their race and don't bother with you pick-me's, or they will marry you and use you as a placeholder until someone, quote unquote, better comes along. So you can sit on your podcasts calling us hyenas, Crimson Cure, or refer to us as these females, Danica Marie. You can sit there and wish that Black women would breathe life into them, Shalakemia. You can go right ahead and call us old, Chantel Simone. You can also complain about Black women not being submissive, as if submission is owed to any man, Gail Nelson. Or you can talk about terrible hygiene and how women have bad vaginal smells in the presence of men with no class or decorum, Melanie King. Or you can go right ahead and call us delusional divestors, Shay Charday. It's okay. We're not doing this for you. So you can do all of that. You are free to do or say whatever you want. I couldn't imagine being you, though. It must be exhausting putting in all that work for Scooby snacks all day, every day. It's like a full-time job. And while some of you might have rings on your fingers, the men you chose are far from high value. Oops. Did I say that out loud? But anyway, moving on. Let's take a look at this video where Queen Pearl disrespects the heck out of this woman.
Thank you.
And it says something about your decision making if you become a single mother.
Are you all right?
Do you know why I became a single mother?
Disagree. Yeah,
That's uncalled for. You don't know what I experienced. You don't know what I experienced as a married woman to make a choice to be a single mother.
It's either you don't pick the right guys.
Oh,
it's something about your decision making. Right. Maybe you don't pick the right guys.
So abusive women that choose lovely, amazing men that just decide to be physically abusive because I chose that. Yeah. Is that what you're saying?
Say that again.
So I chose to be a single divorcee because of an individual's choice to be violent. Is that what you're saying?
Do you see what I mean? Extremely disrespectful, arrogant, and condescending. If I were her, the black woman that is, I would have walked right out of there. And it's not because I can't handle conversation, but because her comment, Pearl's comment, was out of order. There is nothing I hate more than rudeness. Pearl is rude. She's inappropriate. Pearl is like a child. She says whatever comes to mind with no self-censorship. You can see it in how deliberate and insensitive she is. She's not ready for these conversations because she lacks experience and maturity to do so. She's ill-equipped to talk about such issues. Let's continue.
Choice to get in a relationship with him.
Oh, because I didn't see his psyche.
It's like life turns out better if you take accountability for your choices. Sometimes.
What accountability are we putting on the man?
I disagree.
The abusive man.
In order to take accountability, you have to recognize where you've gone wrong and correct it. Getting a divorce from an abusive spouse is as accountable as you could possibly get when it comes to correcting a marital mistake. You, as an individual, are only responsible for what you do. You are not responsible for what others do. How is she supposed to take accountability for him, his actions, his mindset, his abuse, when no woman ever gets into a relationship wishing and hoping that they would be abused? And I hope you caught just how dismissive she was. She's dead in the eyes. No empathy. Like I said, she was out of order. Let's continue.
Made her the single mother. So where is the accountability for him?
An abusive man, he's wrong. I agree with you. But where do we take accountability for the fact that you pick the men? So maybe.
Sorry, Pearl. Can I have to say I disagree with you there. I definitely disagree with you there, and I'll tell you why. Look.
An abusive man, he's wrong. I agree with you. She doesn't believe that. Those eyes are vacant. No empathy whatsoever. The lights are on, but nobody's home. Very low vibrational. These topics are not within her emotional or mental reach. She's too simple to comprehend any of this. She doesn't possess the mental capacity to understand the gravity of the issues being discussed. She's too delayed for this conversation. Let's continue.
38. I'm not a young girl. I've been married and I've been divorced. I've got experience. I've had a kid. You know, I've been there. I've done that. So if somebody gets married at a young age, right, they're young, right? So they're not that clued. Right, look, let me start from we always talk about the problem, but we never ever get to the core of why that problem occurs.
But everybody's young.
So
everyone's young.
No, wait. As a young girl, I'm sure you'll all agree with me, okay? As a young girl, we are brainwashed. We are sold a fairy tale, right? We are all thinking, oh, we're going to wear this white dress and we're going to get married, we're going to be in love. No, we shouldn't have been taught that. We should have been taught the realness. Marriage is very hard. It's a struggle. You got to make sure you know who you're marrying. Look, and also, people change over time. Somebody, you can marry them, and when you married them, they were okay. And over time, gradually, they got mental breakdown. They became a psychopath. They became antisocial.
But again, we all grew up in the same society, and people have different outcomes based on their choices. So if you make a choice...
Sorry, can I finish what I was saying? I think what you're saying, everything that we say has to be within context. You know, some people might get married and the husband dies, and they become a single mother. You know,
Facts. No lies detected. She spoke nothing but the truth. Marriage is not for the faint of heart. Most people who've never been married still buy into this fairy tale thinking it's all peaches and cream, and it's not. Obviously, it all depends on who you're married to. You need to work on having a symbiotic relationship. You need to have great communication and figure out your style of conflict resolution, a style that works for both of you. But more importantly, there has to be a willingness to want to resolve issues with respect. Part of the reason that most marriages break down is because of poor communication, the unwillingness to compromise, or lack of respect for boundaries. One too many violations of any of those things, and you are well on your way to divorce court. Pearl is extremely lackluster. She's ignorant. She doesn't get it.
But does it go the other way? Does men's value diminish when they become
No, it doesn't.
fathers?
No, because they can just get up and they can go and remarry.
Personally, for me personally, I'm not into the guys with kids. That's not my thing. But in general, no. I mean, most guys I know that have kids say it helps them in dating. Girls like it.
Yeah, no, a guy can just get up and start all over again. He can literally.
So there's no accountability when it comes to men, but as soon as
it's not about accountability. It's about outcomes. Like, what outcomes do you get?
What is the outcome?
And the outcome is that single mothers have a harder time in dating than single women.
That's the outcome.
And the outcome for men is oftentimes when men, not always, but oftentimes when men have kids, their outcomes are better. They get more girls because women like to see a guy that can take care of a kid. It signals to us that like.
Nope. No. I would never advise any young single woman to date or get married to a man with kids. You will be doing yourself a disservice because in between dealing with this child or children, you will also have to deal with the mother of that child or children. You will never, and I repeat, you will never be a priority to a man with kids. His children, if he's a decent human being, a decent person, will always come first. They'll always come before you. They will always take priority because that's what a good parent would do. Don't sell yourselves short, ladies. You deserve to have a man who will put you first, especially when you are child-free. You deserve your own uninterrupted relationship. Stop settling for men with kids. They are a downgrade to single women with no kids. So I would like you to observe the following. Please pay attention to the contrast in demeanor and behavior when the lady in the red jacket feels disrespected by Pearl and King Riches, and compare that to the previous incident with a black woman. Let's take a look.
1 second. I did want to say something.
Hold on, bro. Like, hold on, bro.
No, listen. One second. Listen. Let me. One second. Listen.
No, it's not your show. Shut up. Stop.
Don't listen. I never disrespect you. Do not disrespect me because I will not tolerate disrespect from no one. I'm not them, bro. You disrespected me, so I've got a reason. Don't talk to me like that, bro.
Okay. Stop. I just told you to stop. I just told you to stop talking.
Guys.
I was gonna give you a chance, but you can't. Come on.
Wow.
30 seconds. Go. Wow. 30 seconds, and then you. 30 seconds.
She just can't stop talking. Can't stop.
Go.
Anyway, I can't remember. She just threw me off. Okay. I can't remember.
Okay. Wait. Okay, no. Stop. Okay, thank you. We're going to go on to the next question, all right?
All right, so I'm going to leave. Okay. I'm not going to tolerate disrespect. This might be your platform, but respect people when they come on your platform.
Okay, goodbye. Go.
Yeah,
okay, because...
Listen, mind yourself, bro. You know what? I'm going to rebound. I'm going to rebound, bro.
Cool. Like, disrespected you.
You talk to
I disrespected you.
You don't know who you're talking to.
How did I disrespect you?
Be careful. First thing you call me bro, and then you said
I call everyone bro. I have a show here and I call everyone bro.
So
that's why she's angry. You're angry because I called you bro. I called Auntie bro and she's right next to me.
No, Auntie hates it. Auntie hates it.
Wow.
Auntie's told you long time. Auntie hates
We're in
it.
here on the podcast, but there's the streets as well, bro, innit? Mind yourself, bro. Mind yourself. Yeah, you're damn right. You're damn right, bro. You're damn right. And I'm gonna see how fucked out you are. Yeah? You little mug.
Bro. Okay.
Disrespect. Because I called everyone bro.
Listen, don't call me bro, I don't know you.
So that's what you have to say, though. That's what you have to say.
You little mug.
But that's what you have to say. You're just embarrassing yourself.
I'm embarrassing myself. You need to stop inviting people on here disrespecting me because you think
You keep over talking. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out. Get out.
Oh. Talking pure shit. How many bodies you got?
Oh my God. Get out. Get out. Get the f out of my apartment. Get out. Oh my God.
Given what you've just seen, I would like you to think about this. If the black woman that Pearl disrespected earlier behaved that way, how would she be perceived? What would have been said about her? I'll leave you to ponder on that.
Being average, I just want to say, it's not about even my degree, you know. It's not about my master's. It's about what I've overcome and achieved in this life that makes me a survivor and above average. I have been homeless on the street and I'm sitting here today and not representing that. My struggle, my success makes me above average. And nobody can't tell me that I'm not. Because if that's what I need to tell myself to get up in the morning and do my shit, that's what's going to have to happen.
You know, as far as that lady being in an abusive relationship, no woman deserves that kind of treatment. These toxic podcasters have women out here thinking it's their fault. And that's crazy. She was married to the man, not dating the man. And this is not to say that that would have made any difference, because abuse is abuse at the end of the day. And like the other lady in red said, sometimes you don't see the signs right away. It's not like these men are wearing a sign that says, "Marry me. I'll beat your ass one day, but marry me anyway." There's no such thing. There are a lot of men out there who come off as Prince Charming and turn into nasty frogs once they get too comfortable with you. Sometimes they prey on women and strategically pick their victims. And by the time you realize what's going on, it's already too late. Getting into these relationships is normally easy. Getting out can sometimes be a challenge. And there are times when women don't get out at all. Even then, the victim shouldn't have to take accountability or blame for the abuser's actions. Some of these men are just rotten to the core. It's not your responsibility to take accountability for an abuser. And this is what happens when you have unqualified podcasters speaking on issues that are beyond their scope. This is all done for money and clout. And majority of these clowns really don't know what the hell they're talking about. Victim blaming or victim shaming is not cool. Women like Pearl are dangerous because they prey on the misery of other people. In this case, black women. She's no different from these black males who make money off of the misery of black women. Women like Pearl are dangerous because they tend to give this simple commentary with no solutions to heavy topics. I really do hope that she never gets into one of these relationships. It would be a shame to have to watch her story on the ID channel. I'm just saying. On that note, what are your thoughts on what's been discussed here today? Please leave your thoughts and comments down below. Don't forget to like, share, and subscribe to the channel. And remember, ladies, support content creators whose message resonates with you. Don't be afraid to cut off those with toxic messages that are only meant to pollute your mind and diminish your self-esteem. Self-preservation is always key. Thank you so much for being here, and thanks to those of you who will catch the playback. This is the Diamond Chrysalis. Divest like a butterfly, and I'll see you in the next one. Bye, diamonds.
Hello.